Good evening, Internet. Shroom here playing Standard tonight, and the spells and threats of 2026 Standard are indeed very scary. That's why we're going to try to make sure that our opponents can't resolve any of them as much as we possibly can. Let's take a look at some Dazzling Exhalation. So Dazzling Exhalation is really a Jeskai tempo deck, and we're named after these two spells. Dazzling Denial is 2 mana, 1 and a blue for a instant counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. If you control a bird, counter that spell unless its controller pays 4 instead. And then there's Dispelling Exhale, which is another 2 mana counter spell. As additional cost, we may behold the dragon, counter target spell unless the controller pays 2. If a dragon was beheld, counter that spell unless the controller pays 4 instead. So these are both at their base 2 mana quenches, basically. They're counter anything spells that are relatively easy to cast, only demanding 1 blue pip in the casting cost. And if we actually can enable the modes where we have birds and dragons, they actually become prohibitively expensive to play, even in the deep into the game, in the mid game. Our opponent is not going to be able to pay 4 in addition to the casting cost of their spells to resolve their spells very often if we cast either of these spells, which effectively makes them into 2 mana counter anything for much of the game. So we're trying to enable these counterspells and other counterspells with a team of birds and dragons working together for mutual advantage to shut our opponent out from doing anything relevant. Of course, we've included No More Lies as an additional playset to these counters so that we usually, hopefully always have counters at the ready. So what are our birds and dragons? Well, Healer's Hawk is kind of our goat. Really what we're trying to do is resolve a Healer's Hawk turn 1 and then just protect it for the rest of the game. You know, like counter everything relevant our opponent does from that point onward. Ride our Healer's Hawk to victory. But we've got other birds as well. We got these two Plume Creed Escorts, which are just flash birds that give a creature hexproof when they enter the battlefield. But they're mostly just flash birds that have a 2 power. So we like that. And then, of course, we're playing dragons to enable our Dispelling Exhales. We've got a 1 of Magmatic Hellkite, which can help us with destroying things like, you know, Caverns of Souls to try to get around our counterspells. We have a Room Scale Stormbrood, which for its Omen side is a counterspell that can counter stuff with mana value 2 or less. And then it just becomes a kind of mopey body, but it is a flying attacker. And then we got a 1 of Nova Hellkite, which we can kind of sneak in as a 3-drop to ping like a Llanowar Elf or something, assuming any of those resolve. And then we got some high-end dragons. The Twin Maw Stormbrood really is just here for its Omen side as a cheap removal spell. The Meringue River Regents are mostly here for their card draw side to help us draw cards to find the pieces that we need. Speaking of which, we're also running a couple of treasure maps to help us with card draw / selection and mana as well. Like, we want mana because we want to be able to cast cheap birds and also hold up counterspells the whole while that we're doing stuff. And that's why treasure map is a good card for this deck, because when we do eventually flip it by scrying 3 times with it, it will flip over into a land, generate 3 treasures on the spot, allowing us to, you know, cast our birds and hold up hopefully multiple counter spells. We also are running a 1 of Glenelwender Guardian, by the way. It's neither a bird nor a dragon, but it is just a flash speed flying creature that can remove its -1/-1 counter to counter target non-creature spell. So it's literally a counter spell on a stick. That's why it's included in this deck. You might have noticed also that the clock can be very slow since we're dealing with like Healer's Hawks and like Plume Creed Escorts 1/1s and 2/1s. You know, these Dergs are kind of few and far between. That's why we're running the full playset of Air Nomad Legacy. Just gives all of our flying creatures, which is all of our creatures, +1/+1 for 2 mana. Also creates a clue when it enters the battlefield, which is really nice because we do need that extra card draw / card selection. And then we got a little bit of interaction. Into the Floodmaw is our interaction of choice because we're trying to counter everything. So yeah, our opponent might be able to slip something through our counter spells for a turn or 2. We can just bounce it right back to their hand, whatever it is, any non-land permanent. We might give them a fish. That's going to be irrelevant because we'll be gaining life off our Healer's Hawks. This is just a good way to slow the game down, make a tempo play, and then counter whatever troublesome permanent it is on the way back down with our myriad counter spells. And then we've got a 1 of Aang's Iceberg. It's just a 1 of catch-all removal for 3 mana, flash speed, which is just a good spell for this deck. So that's the plan. We're just gonna play Birbs and Dergs, try to protect them, try to counter everything that our opponent does that has any relevance, any possibility of winning the game for them. There's a total of 24 lands in the meta base, which is really needed, although we're kind of cheap mostly. Like, we need to make our land drops so that we can, again, you know, cast our creatures and hold up counter magic the entire time. We're leaning on our meta base pretty heavily to find us cards. We got Abandoned Air Temple to juice up our team with plus one counters. Agna Qel'a can let us dig a little deeper for cards, as can Cori Mountain Monastery. And then we've got a 3 of Restless Anchorage, which is a bird as the creature part. This is a very good creature land for this deck. It becomes a bird creature token for bird creature for only 3 mana. So we can, you know, possibly even get our opponent by cheaply transforming our Restless Anchorage into a Burb and then countering with a Dazzling Denial, a spell that they thought they might have had the mana to pay for. Turns out they didn't. And then we've got a couple of Demolition Fields here to help us, again, against Cavern of Souls primarily. We do need to be able to deal with Cavern of Souls. 24 lands. The sideboard does contain a little bit... well, once we know what our opponent's doing, we can board in the 1 mana counterspells. We've got the 2 mana counterspells in the main, but we can board in annuls, for instance, against artifacts and enchantments. We can board in Spell Pierce against spell heavy decks and control decks. I think I'm gonna board this in against like big mana decks as well, because we're gonna be countering their ramp cards. So normally Spell Pierce is a spell that I don't like against the big mana decks, because once they get off a ramp spell or 2, they become more or less useless. But we're gonna be countering those ramp spells too, so I think Spell Pierce is actually the play for this deck against the big mana decks. And then we can board in a bit of removal for really troublesome permanents. Like we got 1 mana removal, which you just kind of need in this format. We got some Seam Rips, a little bit of a couple of Lightning Helixes can kill cheap stuff as well and gain us some life against those aggro decks. We've got a couple of exercises against artifacts and enchantments of big stuff. Fire Magic is here to sweep weenies and token decks, and then we got 3 of Rest in Peace for Graveyard Hate. So that is Dazzling Exhalation, our Birbs and Dergs working together to make our opponent can't play the game. So in testing, this deck has been a little inconsistent. I haven't actually tried out this build of it yet, so see if we can get some wins in the platinum tier of the standard ladder. If you like off-meta MTG content, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. Dark Chaos 626 will be our first opponent. Some Dazzling Exhalation will be on the play. And yeah, we've got a couple counter spells. That's what we're looking for. We've got our colors. Alright, we will lead on a tapped Hallowed Fountain. Llanowar Elves. Oh, I don't really fear the elves as much with this deck as I do other decks. We do Treasure Map, which is nice, but we hold up our counter spells with this deck is what we do. Mutable Explorer, that's a great thing to counter. Alright. I'm gonna shock. I guess I could have played Demolition Field there, but I want to be able to play Glenelendra if they don't do anything I need to counter. Yeah, let's get our Glenelendra in there. Block that Llanowar Elf. Okay, they have a removal spell, sure. Okay, we could kill the Llanowar Elf, but I think I just want to play my treasure map. Gotta get this down. And then we'll start upkeep scrying. Gisa? Okay, let's scry. I tapped my planes to do that, which I guess makes a little sense because I could theoretically use my Demolition Field. Do I want an Air Nomad's Legacy? Looking for another counter spell, really. Okay, just a land. We'll go to our main phase. Play this on blue. Play it tapped. We have our Iceberg held up. Okay, they just go to attack. Well, we'll Demolition Field their cottage. I think we'll get... Mountain is red source number 2, which we need for our Hellkites and our Magma... Our Nova and Magma Hellkites. I will get Mountain. Alright, let's scry. Another treasure map? Yeah. Sure, I'll draw a treasure map. Play a treasure map. Lands, am I right? Opponent says. They're complaining about being mana screwed. You have access to 6 mana. Let's scry. Meringue to the top, please. Yeah, we'll scry here. We'll leave our meringue on top. Draw it, get some treasures. We'll pass. More Llanowar elves. Opponent has nothing better to play than Llanowar elves. Let's scry. Floodmaw, yeah, Floodmaw's good. We'll draw Floodmaw. I think I'll just cast a meringue. Mount Llanowar elves. Okay. So they're ramping into something. Not sure what, but it's going to be big, whatever it is. So I'm going to bring in Exercise. I normally would bring in maybe Spell Pierces against a big mana deck as well, but they seem like they might be very creature-centric. Sideboarding is tricky because we really cannot cut creatures. There's only like 12 creatures in the deck. 13, actually. We cannot cut them, except maybe the Glenalendra we can cut, and I think we can cut it here. We'll just cut one. Air Nomad Legacy, let's try this. We can't really keep a hand that has no counterspells, I don't think. That's a mulligan. Okay, here we have a Burb and a Dispelling Exhale, so that's a keep, and we'll bottom one of the Floodmaws, I guess. Alright, we are going to run our Hawk turn 1 and pray. Duress. Takes our treasure map. No, not our bird. Okay. Too bad. Alrighty then. Beautiful Explorer? Eh, I don't think so. Another Floodmaw. Chomping Changeling is just a 1/2. Sure. No more lies, okay. Nova Hellkite. Gonna hold on to it. It doesn't even kill this changeling, so no reason to play it for 3. Just hold on my counterspells. Alright, Demolition Field is a good draw. Corpses of the Lost. Skeletons get +1/+0 and have haste. When it enters, create a skeleton. At the end of your end step, if you descended, you may pay 1 life. If you do, return this enchantment to its owner's hand. I could exile this? I'd take both my counterspells. I could just bounce the skeleton. The changeling is a skeleton, of course. Take 2. Hallowed Fountain. Well, alright. Let's play our Hellkite and race. Oh, I didn't mean to warp it, actually. I meant to actually just hardcast it. But I guess this way we hold up a counterspell, so it's not too bad. Bitter Triumph, yeah, we'll counter that. Duress can get our last counterspell. But we can actually hardcast. Okay, they have a Unholy Annex as their last card, of course. So now I don't know if we can outrace them. I think we're bouncing Unholy Annex at the end of their main phase, which does give them priority to use it again, I think. No, they can just recast it. So let's see. I would need to shock, and then I would take 4. I'd go to 4. I would bounce the Unholy Annex. The question is, do I shock or not? I feel like the 2 damage is going to be really relevant. I guess I'm not shocking. Which probably meant that I didn't need to play that land. I could have bluffed like I had something. Okay, so we're probably dead here. Let's Agna Qel'a. We need exercise. We didn't find exercise. So we're dead. So we want Annul, obviously. And I think we want Spell Pierce, too. Maybe even Glenalendra back. Gotta stop the Unholy Annex. Yeah, we'll cut a couple of Flood Maws. Nomad. Couple nomads. Can't cut our birds or our dragons. Yeah, I think we're just cutting the Flood Maws. Let's try this. We have 2 lands, which are our Demolition Fields. We have to mulligan. Okay, we can keep this and bottom mountain, I guess. Play our Hawk. Caw, caw. tiny bones. Okay. Got 3 counterspells queued up. Alright, Agna Qel'a, that's a good draw. Corpses. Counter that. You don't need a Derg. Hallowed Fountain. Attack. Sure, we'll shock. Hold up 2 counterspells. Corpses. Counter that. Should've used no more lies there. This doesn't matter that much. Send in the Birbs. Mutable Explorer. No. Attack. Pass. Forces of the Lost? Sure. You get it. A Mutable Explorer. Sure, they get Mutaballs. So I could Iceberg this Corpses of the Lost. I think I will. Let's just draw another counterspell for the Unholy Annex, please. Alright, we're gonna take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. Unholy Annex is your last card. Well, yep. And we lose. Alright, well, opponent played sequence their spells really well. We do have 2 exercises in our deck as well as counterspells. We just never found what we needed. Let's see if we draw an exercise here. We don't. So we're dead, unfortunately. Yep, GG's. Agna Qel'a will be our next opponent with some Dazzling Exhalation in Standard. Alright, that's a 1-lander, can't keep it. Mulligan. And we'll keep this, sure. And bottom... I don't know... Iceberg? Or Floodmaw? Maybe Floodmaw. This sort of counts as a counterspell. We normally don't keep any hands that don't have counterspells, but after mulliganing to 6, I think we'll keep with a rune scale. Ride the Shaboof. Okay, it's a landfall deck. Summon Fenrir. Yeah, we'll counter that. Verge, go. Traveling Chocobo. Sure, that's fine. Alright, let's Iceberg Chocobo. Land, go. The Earth King. When it enters, create a 4/4 bear creature. Okay. Whenever a 4/4 attacks, search your library for up to that many basic lands, put them onto the battlefield. Sure. Okay. Play this Plume Creed. Yep. Healer's Hawk. Just what we needed. So they're gonna get to attack and then put a land onto the battlefield, which is gonna trigger this. So, looking bad. I think I'm just playing this because everything they're casting now is more than 2 mana. The Legend of Kiyoshi. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Sure. We'll take 10. And probably scoop here. Yeah, we're not coming back from this position. They've just got too much on the battlefield. Okay. So let's go with a null for those enchantments. Anything else we need? Maybe exercise? Yeah, I could see exercise. Cut a legacy, a treasure map. Floodmaw is actually good against them. I'm so quick to cut the treasure map. I don't think we want to cut the treasure map, actually. We'll cut a couple of legacies. Cut one Floodmaw, and we'll cut the Glenlendra. Let's try this. We can't keep this. No counterspells. Nothing really. Yeah, that's absolutely a mulligan. Here we have one counterspell, which is good. We'll keep. And bottom. Probably abandon Air Temple. A null, that's a good one. Attack. I am gonna shock to hold up my Dazzling Denial. Yeah, we'll counter that. I wish I would have played Dazzling Denial there, because then I could play Legacy and hold up a null. But I think when you bring in these targeted counterspells, you want them to hit what they're targeting. So we're gonna play this tap, hold up our counterspell. Bushwhack, search for a land, sure. Another Dispelling Exhale. Okay. We are not going shields down. Seismic Sense. Look at the top X, where X is the number of lines you control. Reveal a creature or land among them, put it into your hand. Whatever, sure. Summon Fenrir. Nope. More Dispelling Exhales. Well, land number 4 would be appreciated, deck. Or a Broid. Nope. Alright, there's land number 4. That's good. They are Air Nomad Legacy. Favorable wins, baby. But it gives you a clue. Traveling Chocobo. How about Choco No? So do we just slam Nova Hellkite on our turn and present a 2-turn clock? Guess we'll see what we draw. We need line number 5 to do that, I guess. This is not a treasure, it's a clue. Zaz's Chocobo. Poor Zaz's Chocobo. Yeah, we're just running out. We're going for it. Not warped. Kill the bird. Attack for 7. Lethal on board. Alright. Alright, so opponent roped us all the way through sideboarding. Having trouble with opponents not completing matches today, so I'm gonna have to keep that as a win. We did win game 2 pretty decisively. Clutch XV will be our next opponent, with some Dazzling Exhalation will be on the play. And we've got double Dispelling Exhale, which means we keep. Who needs creatures? We'll find them off our treasure map eventually. Elusive Otter. Okay, so this is like Prowess, I think. Storm Chasers don't. Let's try to ambush block that otter. Okay, cool. Another elusive otter. Alright, we're gonna pass. Gonna just bounce and counter this otter. Slick shot. Alright, let's bounce this otter. And we'll counter it. Okay. I wish I could play treasure map here, but we can't go shields down, so I'm just passing. I actually can just straight up counter the slick shot if they play it direct from plot right now. Alright, steam vents. Sure. We'll shock play our treasure map. Okay. So we can Dispelling Exhale, meaning they have to tap 4 lands to cast that? But then we don't have an answer for it anyway, so it really restricts how much they can do, though. They have 3 cards in hand. Could save us a lot of damage. Or I could just scry with my treasure app and try to find what. Yeah, let's just make you tap out if you want your bird. Scry. Cori Mountain Monastery. I don't think we're looking for the monastery right now. What are we looking for? Healer's Hawk? Clearly, that's what we're looking for. Play our Hawk. Burst lightning my bird. Okay. Just level up Storm Chaser's talent, buying back burst lightning. Draw land. Oh, I didn't upkeep scry there. I really should have. Well, I guess we're just gonna kill this otter. We'll pass. Okay, they can fully kick this, so am I dead? I might be. Blood Maw that. Okay. I mean, I tapped down when I could have held up a counterspell for that Flood Maw, but we still didn't find a way to deal with the bird, so I don't think it mattered. All right, so we got 2 Seam Rips, we got 2 Lightning Helix, 2 Fire Magic. I think that's what we're packing against that. So let's cut a couple of legacies. Oh, I don't want Exercise. I want Seam Rip. Like, Flood Maw is decent, but we're bringing in stuff to kill their creatures. Stormbrood can kill otters, which makes it worthwhile. Cut a meringue, maybe? I don't know. Just run 1 Air Nomad's Legacy. Let's try this. It's all about surviving, really. And 1 land, we have to mulligan. Another 1-lander, which we have to mulligan. Well, I'm keeping this and bottoming 2 lands, I think. Slick shot plotted. Drake Hatcher? Nope. Seam Rip? That'll be good. Okay, yeah, let's make you tap out if you want your bird. Attack for 1. Then we can Seam Rip. We only have 1 white source. That's really sucky. Boomerang basics my Seam Rip. Attack for 1. Well, let's play this on white. We got a shock, unfortunately. Seam Rip. Secret Identity. Counter. They have Spell Snare, double Secret Identity. Elusive Otter. Alright, let's kill the otter. Play a hawk. One damage from the slick shot? Oh my goodness. Another elusive otter. Seam Rip. Okay. Get rid of the slick shot. It happens. So Drake Catcher. Dispelling Exhale. Opt, yeah. Shock up. Well, we can counter that. Oh, it's a Dispelling Exhale, not a bird one. Uh-oh, we don't have any Dergs. Only Birbs. The dearth of Dergs is our downfall. Now we can make a 2/2 Drake. Then an Air Temple interest tapped. Burst Lightning on our thing. Slick Shot Show Off. Yeah, I don't know if this deck won the most recent, there's like a televised SCQ event. I don't know if this deck won, but it top 8'd a bunch of copies. Okay. Train will be our next opponent. With some dazzling exhalations. We don't have white mana, which otherwise this would be good. We're on the draw. We have a Demolition Field and a Flood Maw. I'm going to keep this. We just need to draw a white source, and this hand will be great. Oh, Hired Claw. Emberheart Challenger. Alright, let's bounce the Challenger, I guess? Okay, we do draw a white source, which I am gonna shock. Alright, counter the Challenger. Take 2 from the Claw. So let's... Do I want to Iceberg this Hired Claw, or do I want to play my Healer's Hawk, is a question. I think I want to hold up my Iceberg. Karaza the Swarm as 1. Spells and abilities can't be countered. Damage can't be prevented. Well, we have to get rid of that. Alright, I'm gonna try to chump block it. Surprise block it, rather. No removal spell in response. No removal spell in response. Okay. Well, I took the risky line and got punished pretty badly. Well, we don't have counterspells, so this ability is kind of irrelevant for now, but of course we are a counterspell-based deck. I think I probably need to Iceberg something. Nova Hellkite? That's probably what I need to Iceberg. just because I'll die if I don't. Still not liking our chances here. Air Nomad Legacy. Okay, play our Hawk. Play Air Nomad Legacy. Yeah, I think we're just gonna play a treasure map. Pass. Slickshot show off. And they have another burst lightning. Alright. And that's game. Alright, well we made a risky play with our Plume Creed and got punished. So that didn't help. Alright. Double Lightning Helix, double Seam Rip. Cut. Couple Nomads. I don't know, gotta cut something. Meringue plus a Flood Maw? Let's try this. Alright, we have Seam Rip and Lightning Helix, which are both great cards against them, so we'll keep this. Our mana isn't exactly where we want it to be, but we'll make do. Hello, opponent says. Alright, let's play this on red. I guess I should have played Plains there so I could counter whatever they're playing this turn. Yeah, that was a mistake. Timberheart Challenger. Alright, let's just bounce it. Cavern of Souls on mouse. Okay. Lightning Helix. Full bore. Okay. Seam Rip, the challenger. Another Emberheart Challenger. That guy. Dispelling Exhale. Alright, let's treasure map. Set our upkeep stop. We just tap a couple of mana for no reason. Red Maw's Ire. Yeah, we'll counter that, I suppose. Alright, let's scry. Magmatic Hellkite. We're gonna bottom that because we don't have double red. Alright, we draw land, which isn't ideal. Full bore. Full bore, alright. Counter that. Well, let's draw a Seam Rip or a Lightning Helix in our top 2 deck, please. Restless Anchorage? No, not gonna do it. Dispelling Exhale. How about that instead? Nova Hellkite. Scry. No, we don't need more land, deck. We don't. We really don't. And yet, that's what we draw. That guy is hasty. And that's a good game. Ugh, 24 lands, man. Lumbo will be our final opponent with some Dazzling Exhalation. See if we can close out with a victory here. Opponent kept 7. We're on double tap lands on the draw. We have Flood Maw and good cards. I'm gonna keep. Momo. Okay. Oh, they're gonna try to mill us? Okay. Well, try to counter Momo. Alright, Momo's down. I think we'll just... let's play a land. Pass. Hold up. Counterspells, Flood Maw, Iceberg. Space-time anomaly. Not. Air Nomad Legacy. Sure, let's play our Air Nomad Legacy. Oh, except I don't have mana for No More Lies now. But I still have Into the Flood Maw. Let's draw a card. Dazzling Denial. Play our Air Temple. Pass. Healer's Hawk. Shocks. Let's just bounce it. I could exile it. Let's just go for an exile. We don't want them having blockers. Plume Creed Escort, that's a good one. Alright, now we start attacking with our Anchorage. Beating for 3. Essence Channeler. Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to click through there. I did not mean to click through there. Okay. Well, try to kill your channeler with a Nova Hill Kite? I guess it worked out okay in the end. That was an accident. That was totally an accident, but it worked out alright. Space-time anomaly. Gonna mill us for 13. I think that's actually fine. It doesn't... Like, we still have 6 cards in our library. And I think our clock is gonna be fast enough. Although we can't Nova Hellkite. Air Nomad Legacy, we'll leave that on top. Let's activate our thing. Attack for 7. Leave Air Nomad Legacy on top, so our bird is now a lethal attacker. Leonardo, doesn't matter. Okay. So they're trying to mill us with ninjas and space-time anomalies. So we definitely want not annul, but spell pierce is what we want for sure. And something for little guys like lightning helix is probably good. Cut a couple of legacies. I don't know. I don't think we even need the spell pierces. Our regular counterspells just cover what they're doing pretty well. We just need to make sure they don't get any like ninjutsu attacks, and we counter their space-time anomalies. Opponent kept 7. Man, the mana's so awkward here. Man, if we knew our first draw or 2 would be like a blue or white land, this would be great. It's so risky to keep this, though. I'm gonna keep it. Plenty of blue and white sources in our deck. Okay, so I think we play this on blue. Pay 2 life. Yeah. We're gonna let it go. Yeah, we're gonna bounce it. Quantum Gridler warped. Okay, sure. It's actually nice. That's good for us. Okay, we draw Agna Qel'a, a blue source. Well, land go. Counter the hawk. Okay, that's perfect. Play this on white. Go. Okay. Let's use our Demolition Field. We're gonna grab our planes. We don't need red mana right now. Planes. Anchorage. Yeah, let's play our Burb and our tap land, and we'll pass. Riddler? I think not. Alright, let's attack the bird. Play treasure map. Go. Okay, let's scry. Sacred Foundry? I'm not really interested in this Sacred Foundry. Let's scry on our upkeep. Dazzling Denial, that's more like it. We'll draw Dazzling Denial. Make our land drop. We don't start attacking with our anchorage yet. Just go with the bird. Hylia. Warped? Sure. Space-time anomaly? No. Oh, this wasn't warped. Okay, I thought it was warped. Alright, let's scry on our upkeep. Healer's Hawk. We're gonna bottom that. Flip our treasure map. Let's draw. There we go. Legacy. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, they're gonna do the ninjutsu thing, where they mill half our library. We can counter it on the way back down, though. We gotta pay 4 for that. Yeah, let's draw a card using one of our treasures. Lightning Helix. Okay. Dazzling Denial's beautiful. Fire up our anchorage. Let's explore with our bird. Cori Mountain Monastery is perfect. Gonna make us mill half again. Counter that. Yeah, let's draw a card with our treasure map. Doom Creed. Okay. Fire up our anchorage. Attack. Explore on our bird. Another bird. We're good on Healer's Hawks for the time being. Avatar's Wrath. Each opponent casts cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. Choose up to one target creature, then airbend all other creatures. They're gonna airbend my bird. Okay. Okay, let's play this Plume Creed as a 3/2 flyer. GG. Yeah, we got the Helix ready to go. All right, took down Ninja Mill. Okay, our final results was a 2-3 with some Dazzling Exhalation, which is not very surprising. I don't think it's a very good deck. I like the idea of a deck like this that just tries to counter everything your opponent does. And these spells are indeed really good in that kind of strategy. We ran into a couple of troubles, though. Mana was a problem. We're 24 lands, which is really a lot of lands, but we don't have the card draw to really support it. And also, we were off our colors a little bit going Jeskai for the dragons. So were I to run this back, I probably would just abandon the whole dragon aspect of it, making it a Azorius Birds deck with Dazzling Denials, and you could substitute something else for the Dispelling Exhales, or you could just play blue and white dragons. Just cut the Nova Hellkites and Magmatic Hellkites, cut the red dragons, and play blue and white dragons. The problem is, like, those dragons are really expensive, or the ones that aren't very good. Whereas with these dragons, like Nova Hellkite's a great card, and like it's possible we could actually cast some of these dragons. But I think the clunkiness in mana, you would make up for it in having the deck be only 2 colors. And you could play Clarion Conquerors, which is something that I'm not running in this build, but is indeed a very strong card. And it's a 3-drop dragon. You would just have to substitute Treasure Map for something. And again, it would shut down the clue token on Air Nomad Legacy as well. But I'm not even sure that you need these. Like, if you go all in on birds, or we're talking about using Azorius Birds and dragons, I think we just could run more creatures. You know, the Clarion Conquerors are 3/3s for 3. So just by switching our creature selection around a bit, I think you could compensate for the loss of the Air Nomad's Legacies with just more like 3 drops or something. So yeah, I would try to cut down the lands from... I'd try to make this resemble more like a traditional tempo deck. I would make it 2 colors, so get rid of the red, play Azorius Birds and Dragons. I probably would just get rid of the treasure maps, get rid of the Air Nomad's Legacies, substitute more creatures, and just traditional blue draw spells like, you know, Opt is a good spell for a deck like this. I'm trying to avoid 2 mana spells because Spell Snare is such a problem. But you could Opt. You could even like Quick Study. I like that card quite a bit, which is 3. So I think that's the key to making this sort of plan work, is simplify it a little bit, get rid of the Jeskai, just have it be Azorius Birds and Dergs, and make the mana base a lot cleaner. Switch things around, get the Clarion Conquerors in there, switch out the treasure maps and Air Nomad's Legacies for more creatures and just traditional blue card draw, and I think the deck would be improved by those steps. So yeah, you may see me actually build that, because I think the idea of the deck is cool. I like the idea of countering everything my opponent does, like, you know, bouncing their early 1 and 2 mana plays, and then like countering them on the way back down as we build a board of like cheap guys. I just think there's a better way to do it than this build, which is a bit clunky, has color mana problems, and just doesn't work very well. Standard is a bit too well tuned and too fast for to flail around. You can't really afford to do that in Standard these days, so just having a cleaner mana base will help a lot in that regard. So you may very well see Dazzling Exhalation number 2, which will be the Azorius build, a bit more focused. But for a first stab at this sort of archetype, you know, it's not very good, but I think the idea has promise. Anyway, that's going to do it for this version of Dazzling Exhalation in Standard. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you like off-meta MTG content, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. I stream MTG on my Twitch channel every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. There's a link to the Twitch in the description if you want to come check out the action in real time. So I hope you all have a good weekend. It's Friday night, and I'll be back next week with some MTG. Peace out.